In this video, I want to break down exactly what's happening with XRP. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiteboard Crypto Update. In today's video, we will talk about XRP. So be sure to stay focused, as you surely don't want to miss out on this. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications by hitting the bell so you never miss any of our uploads. This video is for educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. At the center of this discussion is one critical reality. XRP has entered the most extreme capitulation phase it has ever experienced. When we look at long-term historical data that tracks fear, selling pressure, and oversold conditions specifically for XRP, we can see that the market has now pushed into territory that has only been reached once before. That moment occurred during the collapse tied to Terra Luna and the FTX fallout. That period is widely considered the worst crisis crypto has ever faced, and XRP is now matching those same capitulation levels. This is incredibly important because XRP has never stayed at these oversold levels for long. Every single time in history that XRP has reached this zone, a bottom has formed shortly after. Sometimes it took days, sometimes a couple of weeks, but the result was always the same. Extreme fear led to exhaustion, exhaustion led to stabilization, and stabilization led to recovery. That doesn't mean we can call the exact price of the bottom, but it does mean we are operating extremely close to the end of this selling cycle. The big debate right now is whether the absolute bottom is already behind us or if there's one last liquidation event still waiting to happen. Some analysts who have been tracking this move from the very beginning believe the final flush hasn't fully played out yet. Their view is that a true bottom usually comes with one last moment of panic, one final wave of forced selling that clears out the remaining weak hands. Until that happens, they remain cautious. And to be fair, their accuracy throughout this decline has been impressive, which is why many people are still watching closely. That said, trying to perfectly time the bottom in XRP has never been the winning strategy historically. When XRP enters full capitulation mode like this, the difference between one price level and another becomes far less important than participation itself. At this stage, the market is broken emotionally, liquidity is thin, fear is extreme, and price discovery becomes chaotic. Historically, these conditions have marked accumulation zones rather than danger zones. What makes this moment even more powerful is understanding that this sell-off has nothing to do with XRP's fundamentals. There has been no sudden failure of the XRP ledger, no collapse of utility, and no breakdown in long-term adoption. Instead, this move is being driven by external pressure, forced liquidations, and broader risk-off behavior across financial markets. XRP is being sold not because of weakness, but because of stress elsewhere in the system. We can see this clearly when we look at how XRP has been moving alongside broader risk assets. Bitcoin and high-growth tech stocks have been trading in sync, showing that capital is fleeing risk across the board. XRP is caught in that wave. One of the most likely drivers behind this is the unwinding of leveraged strategies, including global carry trades, where borrowed capital was deployed into higher-risk assets. As conditions tightened, those positions began collapsing, forcing selling across crypto, including XRP. Another major contributor was a large-scale liquidity disruption within the crypto market that triggered a liquidation loop. When leveraged positions are forced to close rapidly, it creates a cascading effect. Prices fall, liquidations trigger more selling, and fear accelerates the process. XRP was pulled directly into that storm, even though the cause had nothing to do with XRP itself. At the same time, traditional markets added more pressure. Large companies experienced sharp declines despite relatively stable performance. This reinforces the idea that what we're seeing is not asset-specific failure, but systemic fear. Markets are reacting emotionally to uncertainty around interest rates, monetary policy, and broader economic direction. Whether those fears are justified or not doesn't matter in the short term. fear itself becomes the driver. Historically, XRP only reaches this level of capitulation when large players are under serious stress. The scale of selling suggests that significant entities are being forced to unload positions to stay solvent. This type of pressure rarely comes from retail investors. It usually comes from institutions or funds unwinding positions behind the scenes. Often, the identity of those players only becomes clear after the market stabilizes. While panic dominates headlines, on-chain data is quietly telling a different story. Wallets holding more than 1 million XRP are increasing in number. This trend has been building steadily since the sell-off began. This behavior is extremely consistent with past XRP bottoms. As price collapses and fear peaks, the largest holders step in and accumulate. This confirms once again that the current sell-off is not a rejection of XRP, but a transfer of supply from weak hands to strong hands. Leadership within the XRP ecosystem has also reinforced a familiar principle. Moments of maximum fear often present the greatest long-term opportunity. This message aligns perfectly with what the data is showing. Extreme oversold conditions combined with whale accumulation historically mark turning points, not endings. What makes this cycle feel especially unsettling is the lack of a single obvious headline explaining everything. In previous crashes, the cause was clear and immediate. This time, the damage appears to be happening quietly through leverage, forced liquidations, and systemic stress. Smaller failures have already surfaced, but the magnitude of XRP's sell-off suggests that larger forces are still unwinding or have already collapsed out of public view. Looking ahead, it's reasonable to expect one final shakeout, one more surge in volatility, one more emotional wave of despair, and then exhaustion. Broader market weakness suggests short-term pressure may remain, but statistically and historically, XRP appears to be deep into its final capitulation phase. From a probability standpoint, the chance that we are near the bottom is extremely high. If this pattern holds, this period will eventually be remembered as a generational moment for XRP. One of those rare windows where price disconnects completely from long-term value due to forced selling and emotional extremes. The kind of moment people later look back on and say they wish they had recognized while it was happening. Whether the exact bottom is days away or slightly behind us, the bigger picture is clear. XRP is trading in territory that has historically marked major turning points. There may still be one last event that pushes fear to its peak, but structurally, this looks like the closing chapter of a brutal cycle. The next phase, whenever it begins, will likely surprise most people just as much as the speed of this decline has. For now, the most important thing is awareness. Understand what this moment represents for XRP. Remember how this feels, because historically, these moments define long-term outcomes, even though they are the hardest to endure in real time. Well, guys, that's all we have for you today. What are your thoughts on XRP? Get involved and let us know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, then be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you for watching.